Right now, we're joined by Emily, who will share her story. Emily, whenever you're ready to share your story, you can go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I usually start the story with saying I found out I was pregnant in a Buffalo Wild Wings bathroom. That gets a laugh, and I think it's important to start with that because sometimes when some folks tell abortion stories, it could be super negative. And for me, while the experience was negative, you know, the decision was never negative. As soon as I found out I was pregnant, I was 19, I was a sophomore in college, and I'd actually just broken up with a very abusive boyfriend. So it was one of those things where I was kind of like, oh, okay, of course, I'm pregnant now, you know. And I automatically decided I wanted to have an abortion. I didn't even think about it. But I lived in Indiana at the time, in a really conservative place. This was just before Mike Pence kind of defunded a lot of the Planned Parenthoods. But there had been law changes that did require me to go to counseling 48 hours ahead of my appointment. I had to travel kind of an hour out of my way, stay overnight to get the abortion in a different city. So for me, someone from a lower to middle class background with not a lot of money, it was really, really difficult. I had to drain my savings account. So that's one of the main things that I think is important to highlight when I'm telling my story, is for me, it was kind of the lack of access and the difficulties that I had that inspired me to kind of tell my story. Because I'm a white woman, and even, you know, it's because I have a lower class, middle class background, but I'm still in such a position of privilege that so many don't have, who can't access abortion at all. But basically, when I went into the clinic, I had to view the ultrasound against my will, which was really difficult, but I think the most empowering part of it for me was that there were protesters outside, but I was just able to kind of walk through and be like, you know, happy with myself and my decision and what I had decided to do. So ultimately, it was a super empowering experience for me, and that's something I want to highlight today. Even though a lot of my family members weren't super supportive at the time, and my ex was really not supportive, I still can't talk to a lot of people in my life about it. But the people that I can talk to, not all of them were okay with it in the beginning, and it was through like sharing my story, and they started to understand that they love someone who's had an abortion. It's not just something that happens to, you know, a few people. It's a lot more common than we think, and so that's why I'm sharing my story today.
Thank you, Emily. I just want to say that I found out I was pregnant in a Chipotle bathroom.
Nice. Yeah, I took a $1 pregnancy test because I just, yeah.
So I want to ask you, what connections do you see between yourself and the Jane Doe cases?
Well, for Jane Doe, obviously access was a huge problem. And for so many low-income women, especially women of color, and especially undocumented women, while abortion may be technically legal, it is almost entirely inaccessible. So that's a parallel that I see, and something that I think all of us here today really care about changing, is making sure that abortion is not only legal, but it's actually accessible.
All right, thank you so much for sharing, Emily, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.